Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here in what will someday be my library, or at least places where I keep books and scores and things, if I ever get them put away, which may take a year or two. But I'm here with Dave's Faves to talk to you about Richter's Sofia Recital. Let's do it like this without the light. I'm totally in control of the apparatus here of production. And this was recorded in 1958, and it's unbelievably famous. It's one of the most iconic recital discs that anybody ever did, by anybody, ever, in the history of pianotude or pianosity or whatever you want to call it. It is an amazing recital. It really is fabulous. And, it really goes to show it's one of those few things that's used to demonstrate the virtue of live recordings over studio recordings. I tend to dispute that, especially with an artist like Richter, because Richter, you never knew which Richter you're going to get. You could get someone who was as bored as you could be and completely flat and uninteresting, or you could get a super genius, or you could get an amazing virtuoso, or you can get a sort of technically fallible, amazing virtuoso, which he is here in a number of ways. But it doesn't really matter. All it proves to me, frankly, is that some artists are very, very consistent in what they do, and others are wildly inconsistent. And so the fact that you happen to catch one of their great days during a live concert and their less great days in the studio doesn't mean that live is better in the studio. It just means that fortunately the microphones were on when the artist was on. And they could be on anytime. There's fabulous studio Richter. There's fabulous live Richter. But he was kind of all over the place. And this recording is famous, particularly famous, for what many consider to be the ultimate recording of Mussorgsky's Pictures at an Exhibition. And you have to get past the wrong note at the beginning. The simplest part, it's so funny how that happens, da 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 bum 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 bum. I mean, you can play it on one finger. Well, one of those fingers goes astray right at the opening, and you just go, oh my God, what happened? But it is a stunning performance in its shape, in its thrust, in its grandeur, and it sounds horrible because it was a live recording before a rather flatulent, noisy Hungarian audience that evidently didn't know what they were doing. I mean, there ought to be a law that they can only make live recordings in Japan, where people would rather, kill themselves than actually utter a sound. I mean, those people know how to respect a player. Anyway, so it is an amazing Pictures in an Exhibition with an incredible great Gate of Kiev. And even though the sound is quite grotty, you can tell. You can tell what he's doing. You can tell the sonority that he's conjuring from the piano. You get a feeling, really, for the majesty of the conclusion and all of the color and variety he brings to all of the little bits along the way. It's an amazing performance. And really it belongs in the collection of everybody who cares about piano music and knows the music well enough to be able to forgive the sonics. Not everybody can. And for years I couldn't. I just heard it and said, oh God, he misses a note and the sound is lousy. Why waste my time? But eventually it grew on me. And that has to do with really, knowledge of the music, I really believe, as opposed to simply sort of lemming like someone telling you received opinion. Oh, it's great. You have to like it. So you listen to it and go, I have to like it. It's great. It's Richter. No, none of that happens. And there have been many, many wonderful recordings of Pictures at an Exhibition on the piano since then. Back when this was recorded, there were very few. And so that made it, a big fish in a very small pond. And that's something we need to consider too, because it's fair to make legitimate comparisons and decide you want something that sounds better. Anyway, after Pictures at an Exhibition, we get Schubert, the Moment musical in C, number 1, and 2 impromptus, D 899. That tells you a lot, doesn't it? Numbers 2 and 4. As well as the Chopin Etude, Opus 10, number 3, which he really makes a meal out of. My goodness. Every single note is invested with intense meaning. And I can really understand people who prefer something a little more natural and flowing. That's true of the Schubert stuff too, by the way. But it is, he does reveal some extreme extraordinary, I don't know what you want to call it, depth. Maybe just because you have time to listen to one note before the next one happens. They're amazing performances. And then you've got some fabulous Liszt, 2 of the Forgotten Waltzes, numbers 1 and 2, and 2 transcendental etudes. You get Feu Follet, which is like amazing, and Harmonies du Soir, which is incredibly poetic, and Harmony and Evening Soirish. Yes, it's wonderful. And he concludes with the Rachmaninov Prelude in G sharp minor, Opus 32, number 13. Really an extraordinary recital by an extraordinary pianist who even, sometimes the best ones, even when they're not technically at their best, and some of the more technical stuff like the Liszt Transcendental Etudes are fantastic. But, even when they're not at their best, they manage to get through it and get to the essence of the music. People like to say Furtwängler often did that as well. But everyone will have to determine whether they believe it's true for themselves. In the meantime, we have this amazing Sofia Recital. This is the Philips 50 reissue. It's still out there. You can get it. It was in the big Richter box. It's available. It's around, and you should know it. You really should. It's definitely one of my faves at this point, but it took a long time to get there. It really did, and a lot of continuous listening, which is what we all have to do, don't we? So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.